سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المكرمين المنتجبين، لا سيما بقية الله في الأراضين، روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء، ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. For the hastening the return of our Imam, let's recite a salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tonight is the night of Ashura, Laylat al-Ashir, a very important night for us to remember, and inshallah we try to think of Imam al-Hussein and his Ahlul Bayt in Karbala, and try to picture ourselves with the Imam when, on the like of tonight, on such a night, he gathered the male companions in a tent, and according to the account, he explained to them that it's nighttime. Tomorrow what is awaiting is death. No one will escape this. I have not seen companions that are more loyal than you are. Alhamdulillah, you've done what you had to do. Make use of the darkness of the night and leave. And then he turned out the lights, whatever candles or light, whatever they had there. I think it's a good exercise for us to do. If we picture ourselves there and think, if we were there, and Imam al-Hussein, if we would have stayed until that time. Sorry, but if we can have the echo out, I don't know, it's a little distracting for me. Recite salawat, please. It's a good exercise to have and to think, if we would have made it that far in, and let's just picture ourselves there and think that we are there. And if Imam al-Hussein salawatullah wa salamu alayhi would have said that, considering what we have seen, and it is true, there's 30,000+ people on the other side, sharpening their blades, thinking about who's going to kill who, and who's going to take what, and who's going to loot what. And there's only less than 100 people on this side. There's no way on earth anyone is going to survive that. Would we be willing to stay? It's a thought process that we need to have, that we need to be honest with ourselves. And that thought process can be very helpful. It can be very beneficial in getting us closer to the Imam, getting us closer to Imam al-Hujjah, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu al-Sharif. Because that tent is always there for Imam al-Hujjah. He's not visible. We don't see him. He's not visible in that sense. We don't see him. He is visible. He does not reveal his identity to us because we're not worthy. I'm speaking of myself and whoever else hasn't seen him. And that question is always there. That question is always there. As some have put it, the call of Sayyid al-Shuhada in Karbala, هل من ناصر ينصرني هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله, that is there every day and every night. The only difference is that when we hear that call, the response would be to the Imam of our time. Inshallah, we respond well. Inshallah, he takes our hand As we have seen in this journey, Imam al-Hussein picked out his companions. Some of the companions of Imam al-Hussein in Karbala were not people that seemed to be on his side. One clear example is Zuhair ibn Qin. This man, he's from Basra and he's an Uthmani. After the rebellion, the revolt against Uthman, they called that a big fitna, or the fitna that caused a division. And according to that understanding, the division that happened and everything that happened during the time of Amir al-Mu'mineen was because of that split that happened there on the death of Uthman. Some people became Alawi and some people became Uthmani. Zuhair was known to be an Uthmani. He was not a lover and follower of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Imam al-Hussein, however, saved him on the way to Karbala. He picked him as a companion. And we hope that, as Imam al-Hussein has picked many people, he changed Hur, he changed Zuhair ibn Qin. I'm speaking for myself. I don't think I can see myself as the likes of even Habib or some of the others that joined Imam al-Hussein. If anything, maybe I'm someone like Hur that needs to be brought into the path, needs to be selected by the Imam. Maybe, hopefully there's some genuine love of the Ahlul Bayt, the Lady Fatimah al-Zahra, that we beg him on this night that he takes us. It's a difficult test, brothers and sisters. You're either with Hussein or you're not. You may not be against him. It's not you're either with him or you're against him. That's George W. Bush. It's not Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein, you're with him or you're not with him. It doesn't matter if you're against him or not. As long as you're not with him, then you're not with him. He is Safinatun Najah. They are the ark of salvation. In the salawat in the month of Sha'ban, الفلك الجارية في اللجج الغامرة يأمن من ركبها ويغرق من تركها. You don't have to be against them. If you don't join them, we are at loss. They're not at loss. Imam al-Hussein was left alone with 100 plus. Whoever joined him benefited. Hussein didn't benefit from anyone's presence. It was an honor for whoever that was there to be with Hussein. Hussein wasn't honored by anyone being with him. And it's a disadvantage to anyone who was not there. And not a disadvantage for Imam al-Hussein. Imam al-Hussein emerged as Sayyid al-Shuhada from Karbala. Salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. If you've seen the topic for tonight, we want to have an overview, brief discussion of the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. And I want us to be in the thinking about what was mentioned already, and then in that context understand the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. Why? We're looking at it from our perspective. We want to understand the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein from our perspective. What do I mean by that? What I mean is Imam al-Hussein is so above and beyond that we can't really process the Ahlul Bayt in general. The Holy Prophet, the Lady Fatimah al-Zahra, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, and all of the Imams. It's difficult. If you are familiar with the lines of Ziyarah Jami'a Kabira, خلقكم الله أنوارا فجعلكم بعرشه محدقين حتى من الله علينا بكم. He created you the Anwar and the throne of Allah. What does that even mean? It's too above and beyond. My capacity is not where I could understand that. We try to benefit as much as we can understand. We try to process things as much as we can with our limited abilities. And we do that to benefit for ourselves again. They are our Imams. They're our leaders. They lead, we try to follow. If we don't know what they did, we can't follow. Therefore, we have to process to the best of our ability. If we don't process, if we don't think about this, then we haven't understood what they did. If we don't understand what they did, how can we follow? We have to follow based on our limited understanding, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps. If you try doing that, He'll give you more. You try following that little bit that we understand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases the understanding. The words of the likes of Ziyarah Jam'a Kabira start speaking to you in a different way. It starts being felt in the heart in a different way. So we're trying to understand the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein so that we learn for ourselves what we should be willing to sacrifice. Whether that happens or not, all of the Imams, the Holy Prophet, the Lady Fatima Zahra, all of them were willing to sacrifice all of that. Conditions were not there for any of the Ahlul Bayt except for Imam al-Hussein, for him to have that sacrifice. Otherwise, if the conditions were there for Imam al-Mujtaba, he would have done exactly that. If the conditions were for the Lady Fatima Zahra, she would have done exactly that. Not that she didn't sacrifice, obviously we know she sacrificed, but what we will understand, what Imam al-Hussein sacrifice is at least easier for us to understand. If the conditions were there, she would have, Amir al-Mu'mineen would have, the Prophet would have, it's any of the Ahlul Bayt. We want to understand so that we try to want and be prepared to sacrifice what our Imam sacrificed. We want to get as close as we can to that. Recite salawat, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. As we said, it's really not something that I can understand. I acknowledge that I don't understand fully. I'm trying to scratch the surface, have a basic understanding of the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein. There's many things that Imam al-Hussein has sacrificed. Some have just simplified it by saying he sacrificed everything that he had for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for Islam. He sacrificed whatever. When you sacrifice yourself, when you sacrifice your own life, you give up your own life, then it doesn't matter what belongings you have or not. You're not going to be within it. You're giving everything up. So it says every sacrifice is great and it can be calculated. And above it, there's a better sacrifice until it comes to one sacrificing their own self. When you sacrifice your life, you're giving everything up. But Imam al-Hussein didn't only sacrifice his own life. There are people, we've seen people, alhamdulillah, in this day and age, the culture of shahada has developed such that we have shuhada in these multiple Muslim countries. We have experience with shuhada. Some are better than others. All are great. Some are better. We can see what they did. We read their stories. They were willing, when they go to the battlefield, fighting the enemies of Islam, they're putting their lives on the line. That's understandable. Sometimes, as we mentioned before, some of these shuhada would know that this time when they're going, they are going to lose their life. They understood that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala notified them because they were above the average shaheed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honored some of the shuhada by giving that information and then allowing them to go knowing that this is the last time. But when you look at these shuhada, I had a friend actually, one of the shuhada, I just met him the last time. He was responsible for taking out the mines that were left after the war on the border with Iraq, the war of Saddam with the Islamic Republic. There were a lot of minefields that were there. they had to go and take these mines out and also try to find the remains of the shuhada that were left behind there. This great person, Shahid Pozuki, may Allah bless his soul, I only saw him for one day, an amazing person. He had a pretty reputable rank in the military, and but if you looked at him, he looked so simple, you thought he's just a regular person, average person on the street. You never thought he had any type of position, forget about the military in any institution. Very simple. And he had a dream. He'd come to Qom to visit the shrine of the Lady Fatima al-Ma'suma salamullahi alayha. He had a dream that there was a bomb that exploded in the shrine of the Lady Ma'suma. He came, so I don't know what this dream means. He came to visit, and it was a tawfiq for me, an honor for me to see and know this Shaheed personally. I believe he knew. He went then to the area of Fakkeh where he had to carry out that mission, and that was the last time. He was there for a number of years. One of those mines exploded. He was martyred. Great Shaykh, he's going there. He was part of the war. He had put his life on the line over there. Now he's going, risking his life to find the bodies of the shuhada and also clear that land so people can go and farm and so on and so forth. For Allah, he's putting his life on the line. He's willing to sacrifice. But he was saying, one of the things that bothered him in this last trip that he went, he didn't have that worry anymore, was his family. He wasn't a wealthy person, and the salary he got wasn't too much. Over the years, he never cared about any of that. But he was worried about his family. He's willing to sacrifice his life, but he's worried, if I leave this world, I have not bought them a house. They don't have a place to stay. My wife and children don't have a place to stay. That was bothering him. He was finally able to purchase a tiny property, a tiny house in his hometown. And this time he was telling his friends that, alhamdulillah, I got that out of the way. Once that was out of the way, he felt comfortable, and now he was willing fully to sacrifice himself. Look at Imam al-Hussein salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi. He brought his women and children with him. We don't know what that means. He brought Zainab with him. He brought his wives with him. He brought his children. He brought Abdullah al-Radhi'. And then in the battle, he didn't say that these people say, the Ansar, the Ashab of the Imam said, according to the accounts, we won't allow Banu Hashim to go forward until we are no more. They said, Banu Hashim were the first to go. They would have been the first. They're not. Imam al-Hussein brought them there. Okay. Imam al-Hussein knew what was going to happen. Imam al-Hussein sacrificed his whole family. And he knew it from the beginning. It wasn't like maybe not, maybe this is going to happen. No. Not only did he know that he was going to be shaheed, he knew that his family. This is something to learn, okay? If you think about this, some people are willing to sacrifice when it comes to themselves. When it comes to the family, it holds them back. Now that shaheed I talked about is a great person, much better than I am. But if we're learning from Imam al-Hussein, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, then there are times that you have to, you've got to bring the family along. The family is part of this. Some of the shuhada, they knew if they do the work against Saddam, there were people that worked within Iraq before the war and after the war, during the war and after the war. There were mu'mineen that worked against Saddam. That's putting not only your own life at risk. Those who were from there knew that Saddam is this type of creature. Your family is at risk. Now what do? Are you supposed to do that? Are you continue? Are you willing to? This is one aspect that we need to think about in regards to the sacrifice of Imam al-Hussein, Ruhi lahu al-fida, and try to see ourselves, think about it, try to work on ourselves. Again, there's a thought process. It is involved in preparing our hearts. It may never happen. Just like the Prophet, it didn't happen. He didn't lose his family members during his lifetime. Now that's from a worldly perspective. Let me put this in as well. The Holy Prophet, his tests were much greater. Okay? We don't understand them. The Holy Prophet had to go, he sacrificed every single one of his family members, but not in a visible way where we can see. For example, when Sayyid al-Shuhada was born, Imam al-Hussein, the Holy Prophet was given that information by Jibreel. Okay. And if you understand who the Prophet is and this information is given to him, he sacrificed his Hussein before Karbala even. That's too advanced for me to fully understand and for us to discuss tonight. That's because I mentioned the Prophet. I didn't want to do too much injustice. There's a thought process we have to go through. Prepare our hearts, prepare our minds. Before a situation arises, the people that didn't join Imam al-Hussein in Karbala, some of them didn't want to go because they were afraid of their own lives. But some of them weren't afraid of that. What held them back was their family. Fear of what will happen to their family. Are you willing to stand? If the 12th Imam comes right now, and believe you me that these tyrants, superpowers and so on are not going to say, oh alhamdulillah, the 12th Imam has come, all of us, let's join him. They will be his staunch enemies. If you're going to go and support him, leaving the family behind, for instance, what's going to happen to them? They're not going to treat them as heroes, for sure. How many will be willing to? How many will be rushing to join Imam al-Hujjah? And how many of us will be like, well, let me sort things out. Let me see what the Imam is saying. Come now. You want to sort things out? If the thought process was there for the people, if they were ready mentally, psychologically, spiritually, by thinking about it, and in their minds, in their hearts, sacrificing all of that, disconnecting themselves from their belongings, from their family members, from everything. Everything is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, and it goes back to Him. He is protecting. All of this needs to be there. I'm not the one of the important beliefs we need to have is that I was never the protector of my family. Wallahu khayrun hafizan wa huwa arhamur rahimin. He is the one who protects. He is the one who provides sustenance. He is the one that takes care. I thought that's wrong, that's got to be corrected. He took care of the family when I was there. If I go, He will take care of the family.